How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Human Torch was denied a bank loan today. Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Andy here, Andy the Game Maker, here with Fun and Victorious. Thanks so much for stopping by again. I really appreciate that. So for those who aren't caught up, I actually have 2 episodes that I have on my YouTube channel discussing Akira Kurosawa's influence in the Star Wars franchise, as well as stags and how stags as a symbol plays out in specific pop culture projects, specifically Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, as well as Pacific Rim. So fun discussions. Thank you so much for watching those. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't done so, please be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and feel free to leave comments based upon anything you see in this video. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the participation. It makes this way more fun. I enjoy this either way because this is just something I'm really interested in, really fascinated in. So today we're having a fun conversation. We're actually going to discuss WandaVision. I try not to get too involved into what's going on or at least these videos. I'm trying not to get tempted in what's going on with things happening currently. But I think there's something really interesting to discuss with respect to the WandaVision as a show, where it's going to go with respect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Scarlet Witch has a very interesting backstory from top to bottom. Not to mention the way the things have shaped up from the business perspective for Disney, when the acquisitions with the content, I think is really important to address, especially with what's going to happen. So, excuse me. But anyway, so I've enjoyed WandaVision so far. I'm actually completely caught up 4 episodes in. Some people were complaining after the first episode, and I can kind of get that why they might be, just because people tend to be a little bit on the impatient side with what's going on. They at least want some type of breadcrumb to know what's eventually going to happen, and they didn't quite do that, which is fine. It didn't bother me at all, honestly. I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed it for what it was, and it's setups and payoffs is what I just want to remind people of. So in filmmaking and storytelling, there is what they describe as setups and payoffs. So and that's what's happening here with the show. So they're setting things up so that way you can kind of understand, okay, this is why they did that. And it makes more sense as time goes on. So, but anyways, so here's the flow of today's conversation. So we're going to talk about Scarlet Witch, and we're going to look at her from the perspective of her origins in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're going to describe her according to her actual canon over the way she's been written over the years. Not going to go into too much detail, but just at some high level, just to kind of put 2 and 2 together. And then we're going to look at, after having those conversations, discuss her hypothetical trajectory with respect to all the different Marvel projects that are coming up in the future. So I think it's really exciting. I think it's worthwhile. Again, another reason why I just think you should watch WandaVision right now. So anyways, all right. So Wanda Maximoff, that's Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen. We first saw her in Captain America: Winter Soldier in the post-credit scene that they had. And this is when, again, Hydra sort of took over S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of came undone, and both basically just ended up dissolving at the conclusion of the film. But anyways, one of the main characters who introduced us to Scarlet Witch is none other than Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, and he was there at the closing credits, as well as the very first scene in Avengers: Age of Ultron. And as you can see right there, his name is on the watch, and that's actually a screenshot from WandaVision, from one of the first few episodes. They have a couple of commercials. They're kind of like teasing things. They're giving their subtle winks and nods to the audience, and this is one of the things that came out of there, just to kind of remind you, hey, this is where she came from. This is her backstory according to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, and then we see here, Wanda's brother, Pietro Maximoff, otherwise known as Quicksilver. And so they're there together, and then one of the things that Baron Wolfgang von Strucker is that quote right there, where he says, "There's nothing more horrifying than a miracle." And so what that means, oh my God, oh my sweet summer child, what's going? Oh God, wait, no, oh God, okay, I'm sorry. Don't know what just happened there. Who made this slide deck? Anyway, one of the things I want to point out, so he says there's nothing more horrifying than a miracle, and that's because they're kind of saying, hey, we know that traditionally they're both mutants, but for now we're going to describe them as enhanced, and which is why Dr. List in the very beginning of Age of Ultron, that's how he describes it, you know, getting the enhanced out in the field to basically take on the Avengers at first, and that was very deliberate, and we actually seen that a couple times, I believe, even in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They describe people as being enhanced. There aren't any mutants in the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet, so that's something worthwhile to take note of. And so this is basically where we've seen Scarlet Witch. You know, she's been in, as I mentioned, Winter Soldier. We first see her character fully fleshed out in Age of Ultron, and then it goes on to Captain America: Civil War. And obviously, you know, for those who've caught up, Quicksilver dies in Age of Ultron, and then we have Avengers: Infinity War, Endgame, and then all the way into WandaVision. And Endgame is basically the cutoff for where all the Avengers films just kind of close off to create, you know, the main storyline is the Infinity Saga, and then it ends at Endgame. So there's going to be a new saga, you know, basically coming up, because there's no Thanos anymore, and this is one of the very first projects that they're going to air in the new world. So they're supposed to have a Black Widow film, obviously that went off the wayside. They've also had Spider-Man: Far From Home, which actually kind of is actually the first project that teases into this, but that was pre-COVID. I don't think they were anticipating things to happen the way it did. But anyways, they even kind of hint at what's going to happen in this new saga, which I'll get into just a sec. So let's take a moment to discuss Scarlet Witch's origins according to canon. So specifically, okay, so this is actually the very first issue where we see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in the Marvel Universe, going back to 1964, the fourth issue of X-Men. So we see Magneto right there facing off with the original X-Men, and the 5 original X-Men, by the way, are Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Angel, and Beast, all there with Professor X. And off to the right, you see there, you see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So again, from the very beginning, they are actually part of the X-Men universe. There aren't, you know, they have no sort of association or interaction with the Avengers at all. But then that eventually changes over time, and this leads me into discussing, you know, how she sort of fits in with respect to the actual Marvel universe. And I have this broken down this way just so you can kind of understand why we haven't seen some of the content bleed over into the other content just yet. So again, so she lives in this really unique space with respect to all the content that's out there. So again, she is Magneto's daughter, as well as, you know, Pietro, Quicksilver. They both are there, and what's really fascinating is, well, number one, Quicksilver is actually the only character off the top of my head that is actually in both the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the X-Men universe, but they're played by 2 different people. But even in Days of Future Past, we see them kind of wink and nod that Quicksilver is actually Magneto's son. So that's as far as we go to really fleshing that out and really seeing that play out. But Scarlet Witch is very much that point in the middle, I would say, who is at least for right now the most critical character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And because Quicksilver died in Age of Ultron, so he's like no longer around. He's dead, and then we have the rest of the X-Men content, as you can see here. So again, so Magneto is her father, and by the way, according to IGN, they've done a couple polls over the past couple years, and I believe in their most recent poll from 2019, Magneto was actually rated the most popular, or the greatest supervillain of all time from all the comics, from every comic that's ever been written. Magneto is the greatest one of all time, just because of where his story, the history of his character in the comic book industry. So that's important to point out for a couple of different reasons. But anyways, so as you can see here, with, you know, from 2009 to 2019, Disney could not use any of the X-Men characters with exception to Quicksilver, just because he's kind of in that gray area with respect to the Avengers as well. But anyways, because 2009 is when Disney had officially purchased the Marvel characters, as after about a year after Iron Man came out, after Iron Man and Incredible Hulk came out. But anyways, Hulk was actually, I think Hulk is technically not even a Marvel Cinematic character, or not Disney character, not officially owned by Disney. He's like borrowed by Universal. But anyways, that's a separate conversation. But anyways, so you have Magneto, who's been in all the X-Men films. You have Polaris up in the top right hand corner, who's also Magneto's daughter. She's been in Gifted, the X-Men TV series that's been on FX, and then you have the traditional X-Men characters in the bottom right-hand corner who have, again, not been connected to any of the Marvel films. So, but as of 2019, that all changes. So basically, you have Disney giving carte blanche to be able to access all these characters, and I don't see any reason for them not to, just because, again, Magneto is an incredibly popular villain. Everyone loves him. Just the way he influences stories, he's just so much fun to watch. And of course, you have all the X-Men characters that everyone loves, including like Wolverine. So that's really important to take note of here, because now Disney has full of the can freely access all these characters in the upcoming projects. So, which leads me back into WandaVision. So, WandaVision, what's really interesting about it is things are weird, which is how Tony Stark describes Scarlet Witch's character. So we see, it's like the late 1960s, early 1960s, late 1960s, and like the first couple episodes, everything is changing around the characters, going from a black and white TV show to a early Technicolor 1960s TV show, and then this is from some of the promos too. You see them, Scarlet Witch with Vision holding two babies, and it's like an 80s show, 80s, 90s sitcom basically. But then things start to get a little wacky, get a little weird along the way. And this plays into Scarlet Witch's abilities, which is in the MCU, she's just basically a telepath, where she can she has telekinetic powers. Excuse me, she can lift things, move things, toss things, and that's basically the limit of her powers. But really, though, her character is focused on being able to reshape reality, which is a very, very, very crazy ability, as you can probably guess. And this plays into what's going to happen soon after WandaVision, and that is her character is going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I'm a really big Doctor Strange fan. I thought the Doctor Strange film is probably among my most favorite Marvel films, if not quite possibly, depending on, I guess, the day of the week. It's quite possibly my most favorite. But anyways, so she's going to be in that film, and what's really important to understand is Doctor Strange plays into the whole multiverses. That's just been the way the character has been written, the way his universe is shaped out, and we've seen that already. And that's something that's been discussed even with the Ancient One, especially in Endgame, where she's talking about alternate realities, and being able to reshape things, especially by going back through time. But anyways, so she's going to be in there, and I think they're going to really, take full advantage of her character, in terms of being able to reshape reality as it is. And something else worth noting is, you can see there I have an image of Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi wrote and directed, or at least he directed the more recent, or not more recent, the earlier versions of Spider-Man. So we have a couple different Spider-Man franchises, or iterations, if you will, that center around different actors. So you have Tobey Maguire, you have Andrew Garfield, and now you have Tom Holland. So Sam Raimi did all the Tobey Maguire films, and those are great, with with exception to the third one, which is kind of a black eye. But anyways, so he did a really good job with that. But he's also known for the Army of Darkness, Evil Dead movies, which are very, very horrific in that sense. And that's why people are saying that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is it's actually going to be kind of a scary and horrifying film, and which is a very fresh take on a lot of these Marvel films, with the exception to New Mutants, which came out recently, which took a while to come out. But anyways, so Sam Raimi is taking the helm of this storyline, and it's going to be really interesting. And I'm deliberately pointing him out here for a couple of different reasons. So, so here is the upcoming Spider-Man film. It's supposed to come out in 2021. Don't know if that's going to be the case anymore because of COVID. But I want to point out one thing here. As you can see here, we have our beloved J.K. Simmons in the top left. And this is actually a screenshot from the last Spider-Man film that we saw, which is Far From Home. This happens at the very end of the movie, where he's trying to suggest that Spider-Man killed Mysterio. There's some footage that they found from the event that took place in London, and anyways, it's a setup basically where Mysterio and his powers, tries to show although he dies in the storyline, he tries to set it up so that Spider-Man is basically a murderer now, and now he's wanted for his death. But anyways, Mysterio, well, at least here, so sorry, J.K. Simmons, him being here is kind of a critical thing because of the fact that he's in the first iteration of Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire, and the reason why that's worth pointing out, along with a couple other things here, is you'll notice that there's Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina from other different Spider-Man franchises, if you will, who are going to be in this film. And again, they didn't have the ability to introduce these characters, and they're doing it for a very specific reason. Again, because they're finally pulling in content from the other films, and they're having fun with the multiverses and reshaping reality, as I mentioned with the Multiverse of Madness, which is also why Doctor Strange is in this film too. So they're going to have full fun with this. Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, again, probably one of the best superhero films of all time, in my opinion. And then you have Jamie Foxx from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films. So that's why people are saying now, we're probably going to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the new Spider-Man film too. There's been rumors floating around that. I think some of them have been confirmed. I have to double check. But anyways, that's worth noting, especially since Sam Raimi is basically helped setting this up from Doctor Strange, which is pretty fantastic. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen next for a lot of different reasons. But that's where this is going, and this is, so again, you can kind of see why Scarlet Witch is so important in the bigger scheme of things. So again, she's a connection from the previous Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we know, the entire Infinity War saga. She's critical to lending those characters into what we're going to see here soon. But she's also the connection with the X-Men and all the other content, even Fantastic Four, because of her abilities to reshape reality. And so we're going to get glimpses of that. We're going to get glimpses of that because in the upcoming Spider-Man film. So this is really exciting. This is really great. I just hope that just don't get too carried away. So again, a couple recommendations here for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate that. So go see Doctor Strange if you haven't seen it. I really recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a really great Stephen Strange. It's just really fun. People compare it with Inception. So if you really love Inception, you're probably going to really love Doctor Strange. And then Spider-Man 2. If you haven't seen Spider-Man 2, it's fantastic. I think this is probably one of the most impressionable superhero films of all time. It's compared to, I believe, Superman 2. Whichever one. Roger Ebert compared it to he gave it a really good review when he was alive. I'm not sure if Roger Ebert's reviews mean anything to you, but Roger Ebert's been he's one of the most well-known movie critics of all time. He really loved this film, gave it really, really good marks. A lot of fun, and I think it's going to help kind of ease you into what's going to happen in the upcoming in the upcoming films. So tons of fun. Both of them are great. So and again, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching my video. So if you really want to if you want to support my channel, the best thing you can do is go to my website, andythegamemaker.com. I have my game there, Crypto Cartel, for those who are familiar with it. I successfully launched a Kickstarter campaign back in 2018. So the game is available for purchase there. I also have coffee. The coffee is great too. So again, thanks for stopping by. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, and look forward to reconnecting next time. So thank you very much. Bye.